Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I'm very excited to be introducing you to Valerie Wilson, who is a fiber art teacher. So, Valerie, will you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Sure. My specialty is fabric portraits. So I have an online class called Facial Expressions, which is a full fabric portraits class. Takes the student right from choosing a photograph right through to completing a personalized portrait. I also have an introduction to portraits class for those who think they'd like to try a portrait but aren't too sure about choosing a photograph themselves. So there we provide the pattern for them, and everybody does the same picture. And we use the girl with the pearl earring for that one.
Okay, okay. Now that sounds like quite an ambitious project.
I would say most people can do one in about 30 hours.
Really?
Right, from start to finish. Now it depends how long you take finding a photograph that's actually good enough to be enlarged and used as a pattern. And
Okay.
that's quite often a problem for some students.
Okay. So I knew when I was at school, I really struggled to draw what I saw. One of my lecturers criticized me quite harshly for messing up good reference. Do you get a lot of students who come to you who feel that way, who say there's no way I could do a portrait?
Yeah, exactly. I can't draw, and I keep telling them they don't have to draw, but they do have to know how to observe. And that's what I'm really stressing all the way through is look at what is there, not what you expect to be there. Because that's a big problem sometimes is people start drawing what they think should be there rather than what is there.
Okay, that's interesting. That's an interesting commentary on perception.
Yeah, yeah. I do a couple of classes. I've got like an additional class that people can take separately. One is called The Eyes Have It, which is all about the eye area in fabric portraits. And a lot of that is on observing and looking at different eyes. And I always tell the students they're going to be going around staring at people after a while. What do your eyes look like? You know, that kind of thing. The other one is called Smiles and Pearly Whites, and that was named by my students. And that's, again, of course, on the mouth area.
Okay. Okay.
So I've got some really specific ones, but yeah, I really emphasize the observational skills because that's in good part what's going to create a good portrait.
And do you have one coming on hands? Because I know that hands are also quite tricky too.
We haven't got there yet. I'm going. They wanted one on noses, ears, and hands.
Okay.
So that's in the pipeline, but I won't give you any specified time on which that will get done.
Okay. Okay. And do you have a fine art training, or is this just something that you picked up and started doing?
I started doing portraits in about 2004, and then I've gradually worked on it. And I've always, it seems, taught classes. I taught in university level courses, and but what I found was I really liked the workshop setting, where you can actually deal with the students on a more personal level.
Okay. Okay. And how many people are normally in your workshops if you teach workshops one-on-one?
Well, it depends. If it's in person, which isn't happening right at the moment, it can be up to 20 people. Online is anywhere from 10 to about 15.
Okay. Okay.
But we still have a lot of interaction there too. So.
Okay. Do you find there's a difference between teaching online and teaching in person? And what are those differences?
Oh, yeah. In person, you can actually walk around the room and actually see what people are doing right at the time. Online, you have to wait for somebody quite often to post a picture of what they're doing and then be able to comment on it then. Although we do about 4 lives throughout the course.
Okay.
So that's where people can hold things up and say, you know, okay, this is what it looks like. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Kind of thing. So that I think really helps. It brings that more personal interaction back into the course.
So how does the online course actually work? Because I know different people set up online courses in different ways. So you've got a live element?
Yeah. The one I've got right at the moment, I've got kind of 2 versions of it. The one version is a set scheduled time. It runs for 8 weeks. And they, as soon as the course starts, they have access to all the material. So there's a lot of videos, some really comprehensive notes, resource photos of detail of portraits that I have done, you know, for nose, eyes, ears, mouth, all that kind of thing. And then we also have the lives throughout. The other version is similar to what I did in person, which is a 2-day workshop.
Okay.
So it's 2 different versions of it.
Okay. Okay. And what's your favorite part about teaching?
The students. I just love interacting with the students.
Yes.
It seems whenever I've gone through a few careers. I had an architectural antique business, anything for old houses at one point. And I taught 2 courses. One was how to recover your lampshade. And the other one was what do you do with your old house now that you've got it, kind of thing. It was focusing more on restoration and some of the common issues that people dealt with. And I had a lot of fun in all those courses.
Okay. Would you turn those into online courses as well?
Not now.
Okay.
Yeah.
One at a time.
Yeah, one at a time. Like I've been in doing fiber art for so long now that that's really my main focus. So I keep looking at other courses I can do. I do one called People in Nature, which is sort of a twist on landscapes. So rather than the landscape being the main element, it's the people in the landscape. So
Okay.
that's kind of a fun one. So
That
I have a
sounds
number
wonderful.
of other courses. Yeah, I do online.
Okay. And where do your students mostly come from?
All over the world, which is really, really fun.
Okay.
It's a little tricky when you're trying to do lives because
Yes.
then the time zone thing becomes really incredibly difficult. So we try and schedule them at different times, and then we put the recordings in the group too.
Okay.
But currently I have a couple of people from Australia, somebody from England, somebody from India in my group, and then a number of people from the US and Canada.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really international.
Okay. And mostly women?
Yeah.
Okay.
99.9% women. I do have one fellow who's very involved in portraits.
Okay. Okay. I'm kind of interested to understand how textiles kind of become very much a female-oriented thing. I mean, there's so many male fashion designers out there.
Yeah. Well, I think if people were like me, my mom taught me how to make my own clothes when I was a kid. And so sewing and appreciating fabric and knowing the quality of fabric, you know, quite often by feel, was a very key part of my life. And so maybe it's because we're sort of oriented that way, you know, you sew your own clothes or you do knitting or crocheting or whatever, quite often from an early point, and maybe guys don't do that as much, I think. I think male quilters quite often say, well, I came to it later in life, kind of thing.
I've got a friend who's a doctor who recently started crochet for stress relief. And he was quite surprised to find out how much he enjoyed it.
Yeah, my dad used to knit sweaters, and he liked the really complicated patterns. The plain knitting, that was way too boring. But yeah, that's what he did for stress relief, was he knit sweaters. He'd always be saying, well, you know, don't you have a sweater that you want me to knit? You know, always rushing out and trying to find a pattern for him.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And
do you still have some of the sweaters that he knitted?
Yeah, yes, I do.
That's
Don't always wear them, but they're tucked away in my drawer.
Oh, that's such a beautiful story of love. That's carried through the generations.
And special labels.
Really?
Yeah. Knit for You by George Little. It was very cool.
Oh, wonderful. That's so wonderful. And which fiber arts do you enjoy the most? I know you make portraits and you do workshops in that, but are there other fiber arts that you also dabble in?
I love embroidery.
Okay.
Pretty much just about any form of embroidery. I belong to an embroidery guild as well. And so, yeah, I'm always sort of fabric threads, all that kind of thing. And currently doing a Sue Stone class, which is stitching portraits by hand, which is a lot of fun.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Now, I know in South Africa, our guilds are shrinking. The kind of culture around guilds is fading out. I went to one of our local weaving guilds, and the average age of members was between 60 and 85. And their numbers had shrunk from 700 to 70 members in the last 30
Wow.
years. Is that the same where you live or not?
The guilds are pretty much still going strong, and they seem to be able to attract younger quilters as well. I think maybe because of the modern quilt movement, that may have something to do with it.
Okay. Okay, I think you also have a much stronger quilting culture where you are than here in South Africa.
We do. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, and what kind of fabrics do you like working with?
Primarily like a quilting cotton kind of thing, but I love adding in other materials that are kind of interesting. I did one portrait of two men standing there, and they were holding their hats. It was a very vintage portrait. And so one hat was done in velvet and the other one was done in felt.
Okay.
And the one guy had really shiny shoes, so I used satin for his shoes. So I add in quite often little elements of other kinds of fabrics to give the texture and so on. And dyed cheesecloth is a big thing. One of my, I started an art quilt group here, and the one lady started dyeing and painting cheesecloth and using it, and they were all figuring out different ways that we can use it too, and it's really fun for texture.
Okay, so now it's become a thing.
It has.
I love that.
Sort of spread throughout the group. Yeah, you know, by somebody shows up with something one meeting, and then by the next meeting, everybody's, well, see what I did with that, you know, which is something completely their own, but taking that and building on it. So it's been a really fun experience.
Yes. And how often does that group meet? Once a month or once a week?
Once a month.
Okay.
We've been meeting for a couple of years now, and the membership, sort of a core membership, has been pretty stable. And we have about 12 people in that group right at the moment.
Okay. And do you have favorite colors that you like working with?
I would have said at one point more earth tones, those kinds of colors, but I'm finding now that I just, what color is it that makes this scene or portrait or whatever? And so I find I'm using a much broader range of colors than I would at one point. At one point, I orange, like, oh, no, I'm not going to use orange in anything. And now it's just, okay, what? Yeah, orange works great. Okay, pop it in. You know, so it's, my tastes in color have really evolved over the years.
Okay. Do you think that's common for a lot of people?
Some. My girlfriend still likes purple and pink.
Okay.
I try and, you know, try some other colors, you know, like try and broaden your perspective a little bit, but
yes.
But yeah, I think for some people, if you're open to using color, you can find out what colors really play well together, kind of thing, and you start this. Then you have this huge palette of colors. You have much more fun.
I've always loved all of the colors. But for a very, very long time, I would never wear turquoise against my face or skin. There was just something about it that jarred me. And it's taken me quite a long time to be able to wear that one color, which is quite strange for me because I like all the colors.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I find certain colors I wear that I have a preference for, but you know,
and which are those?
Quilting, anything goes. Red and blue.
Okay.
And a pure white. At one point before my hair went really white, I'm very pale skinned, so I had to wear an off-white because white made me look really pasty. And what's happened as my hair has gotten quite white is that cream looks awful.
Okay.
Now I have to wear a pure white to look good. So it's really funny.
Okay, that's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting. And your workshops, where do you teach them from when you teach them in your studio, for those who are watching?
So what platform do I use, do you mean, or?
No, when you teach in person, where is your workshop
Oh,
if
in
people?
person.
Yes.
Across Canada,
Okay.
if I'm teaching in person, yeah. I've had a
Okay.
few studio classes, but my studio is fairly small. So they, by default, are small classes. But yeah, I teach across Canada.
Okay, so you
Love
travel to teach.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd love to teach around the world. That's my
Okay.
ambition. But
Okay. Okay.
so far, I'm doing it online, kind of.
I think a lot of us get there that way.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I've got managed to get my workshops online, I'm not so sure I want to travel anymore because I've quite enjoyed my comfort
Yeah.
zone.
There's a lot of work to travel teaching.
Mm, mm,
And yeah, that's partly why I started teaching online was I thought, well, I don't want to travel more than, maybe 6 times during the year.
mm,
So that really limited the number of workshops I could take on unless they were kind of, okay, well, I'm here, but I can also go here while I'm
mm,
in the general vicinity.
mm,
Um, so yeah, I thought, well, I can expand my reach by going online, and then
mm,
maybe at some point I'm just not going to want to travel teach. Then
mm,
by default,
mm.
the online will be it. Yeah.
And what do you enjoy the most about those traveling experiences?
Seeing different places.
Mm,
You actually get to meet people um, in their home setting, I guess is what you'd say.
mm,
Uh, and that can be a lot of fun. And I quite often stay with one of the Quilt Guild members.
mm,
And so I can get to know them better too. So it's a lot of fun doing that.
mm, mm. Do you find that you end up talking way too late at night before your workshops with the guild members when that happens?
Well, well, I sort of make a rule that, by say 9:30, okay, I'm going to be off in my bedroom,
Okay.
and quite often I'm taking time then to catch up on emails and various things like that. But
Okay.
I need some quiet time. Yeah, I try not to talk all night, or else it just would not be good the next morning.
I've
Mm.
once or twice gotten hooked into conversations like that were just.
Oh yeah, I mean they're great, but
Mm,
I just sort of say, well, I'm going. One of the things I first say is, well, by about this time at night, I'm going to be going off on my own. Um, I need a little quiet time. So
mm.
they kind of know ahead of time. So we try and get any conversations in before that.
Yes, yes. And do you travel by car or do you
No,
fly in?
fly. Yeah.
Okay.
The distances are such that it would take way too long to get there and to get back home.
Yes, yes. South
Yeah.
Africa is much smaller. I used to drive everywhere by
Mm-hmm.
car,
Ah,
but it
that would be
was.
better. in some ways, I think. Yeah.
I don't know that packing of the car, because once you've got a whole
Oh
car
yeah.
to fill, then you fill the car.
Yes, true, true. If you only have 2 big suitcases, you have to kind of squish everything in. And
Yes, yes.
yeah, after all
So,
that hiking through airports.
okay, okay. And have you had any funny experiences in airports with your stuff? Because they don't let you take scissors on planes and stuff like that, do
No,
they?
no. Well, I just pack it. I make sure that I pack everything um, in the luggage, in my
Okay.
checked luggage, because otherwise, yeah, get there and you don't have your favorite pair of scissors or something has gone astray. So
Yes, yes.
yeah.
And have you had any funny situations?
Not other than sometimes racing to actually make the plane
Okay.
on connections where something's held me up. And yeah, don't want to do that very often, I'll tell you.
Yes, yes,
Because
that can
usually
be
you have a
stressful.
little carry-on as well with a few other essentials in it.
Mm,
And you're kind of racing along with that. It doesn't, not fun.
okay, okay. So if anybody who is watching would like
Mm-hmm.
to get hold of you, where can they reach you? Do you have a website?
Yes, ValerieWilsonArtist.com is my website. And I'm on Facebook at Creating Fiber Art with Valerie Wilson. And for those who love fabric portraits, I've got a group called Fabric Faces on Facebook as well.
Okay, that sounds lovely. And the group, how many members does it have?
We're up to a little over 1,400
Okay, that's
people.
lovely. So there's an
Yeah.
active conversation going on there.
yeah, people are always posting things. It's a really good group because people are very active in it.
Okay, okay, that's lovely. Thank you so much
Mhm.
for sharing this window into your world today, Valerie. I enjoyed it so very much.
So did I. Thank you, Melanie, for the opportunity.
It's a pleasure.